Proverbs.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Proverbs of the Black Trauma Therapist, where you will learn wisdom and creative ways to deal with mental and social topics such as depression, trauma, grief, anxiety, so many other things. Hello, I am your host, Theresa White, licensed clinical mental health counselor, registered drama therapist, board certified trainer, and certified clinical addiction counselor. I am the CEO and founder of Drama for Change, Healing is Possible, and in time, creative counseling services. I'm so glad I just yawned because that goes perfectly into our topic for this week. We are talking about burnout. And let me tell you what prompted this topic. Me, me, right? Um, because we are going into a month that is highlighting stress awareness. I said, what better way, especially coming out of a month of women's history and just talking on our last episode about having work to do and all the work that women has done over the history. You know what happens sometimes when you get work, 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 work. It's like I'm barking, don't it? It causes burnout, causes you to get burnt out. But how do you know that you're burnt out? What is some things that let you know, hey, burnout is showing up, or that it's about to show up, or it's getting to the place where it's getting close and you want to make sure that you get in the ahead of it, basically. So I want to share some ways for you to know on today's episode if you are leading to burnout, if you're already burnt out. Let me first say that what burnout is. Burnout is, in my definition, this is not the definition that other people have. And I'm going to explain my heat pad over my neck in just a minute. Burnout is literally where the fire was once lit and now it's been either on so long, the fizzle, the heat is gone out, and there's no more use for whatever this issue is, or it needs some attention ASAP to be restored. And I'm thinking of the example when I say burnout, like a candle wick, right? When you think about, you know that it's made for holding fire, heating the room for you, lighting the room for you, right? It's meant to hold light and heat. But there comes a time that when it's holding it for so long, it starts to get shorter and shorter and shorter. And until there is no more wick for you to light, or the wick has gotten so short, but there's still this little part left, but the entire part is completely black. And what do you say about that? It's burnt. Now, I don't want to act like being the word burnt means completely wrong, because there are some things that we really enjoy. Some people really enjoy burnt. I enjoy when somebody's grilling hot dogs. When I was younger, I don't eat hot dogs now, but when I was younger and people would grill hot dogs, actually, I haven't had a hot dog in a while. That was be nice, but they would burn it, like burn where it was like literally like some black on the sides, and then it gave the hot dog flavor. I don't know how, but it did. Okay, and so um, I don't know why my hair keeps so yeah, it's very much not saying that everything burnt is a problem, but when people are burnt, that's a problem. So I want to give you a visual example. As I'm a drama therapist, that's the way that my brain works. I'm a visual learner. I'm actually a kinesthetic learner. I'm an action based learner, which is why my modality and what I usually use in therapy or working with people to help them heal is action, right? So if I came up to you with a lighter and just try to put it on your skin, right? What do you think would happen? hopefully the person would move, right? You would move, and you would move swiftly and quickly, because the initial touch of that is a completely different temperature and brings a different sensation. Keep yawning, that's so funny. Than what your skin had. And so, of course, you would jump back. You probably would try to hit me if I was trying to burn you, right? Especially intentionally, right? You have that statement where, as a child, you were told, don't touch the stove. And most of us, did it anyway because we was just had to see for ourselves. um, but all that to say is that we know that fire is hot. We've learned it because we've touched the stove and we've gotten burned, and we don't want to do that no more. So, how do we get to a place of being burnt out? Because we know that that's not a good place. We've heard the term probably 1,000 times now. It's a very popular term people use now. But how do we get burnt out? It's similar to how people say, how do you boil a frog? I don't know if you ever heard this. It's a proverb, but how do you boil a frog? And somebody was like, 1 degree at a time. And how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. That's how burnout happens. It doesn't happen where it's the big thing coming fire immediately. It is like you see in my heat pad. It's the warming up, getting cozy with whatever that situation is. And then after a while, almost like how your hand, after you've touched something for so long, it starts to go, and I won't say numb, but almost like it's singed, where it doesn't have the same effect anymore because it's not like you rubbed it raw. But to do that, you have to keep at it, keep doing the same thing. And so that's how you get to burnout. So I'm going to explain that's how you get to burnout. I want to share a few ways for you to know whether you are burnt out. I want to read a scripture first. So I'm pulling up a verse that I thought was really interesting. Now, not everybody, but there's a man in the Bible named Moses, if you don't know, who is known for helping the people of God be delivered, Israel. Oh my goodness. Me yawning right now is crazy because I was not yawning no time before this. But again, talking about burnout, which I think is really funny. That yeah, we are yawning is definitely very appropriate. But in the scripture, and this in chapter 8 or chapter 18 of Exodus, the book of Exodus in the Old Testament, Moses, they have already crossed over the Red Sea. They are in the wilderness. And Jethro, which is Moses' father-in-law, Moses is married to Zipporah. Her father is Jethro. Jethro's coming to visit or coming to bring them Zipporah, their 2 children, and the father-in-law's coming. He comes, he's super excited about what the Lord has done for them. He's celebrated and happy. And one day he decides he wants to observe Moses. Kind of like the day in the life of in the life of whoever, right? A day in the life of Moses. So follow your child to work day is really what was happening. And so he sat and he watched Moses, and Moses had people coming to him and that kind of thing. And Moses, from evening, it said in verse 13, it happened on the next day that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood around Moses Mose is the Hebrew name, from the morning to the evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, "What is this thing that you do for the people?" He was confused. He was watching like, I watched this all day and I'm trying to figure out what is going on. Why do you sit alone and all the people stand around you from morning till evening? And Moses said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to inquire of God. First of all, the perfect scenario for burnout is being alone, being the sole person for a job or a situation or a task or skill, and having multiple pulls on that task or skill. Now, the Israelites, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. And so if people are like, hey, I got a problem today, I'm going to go talk to Moses and see what God says. That again, from morning to evening. So he woke up and this is his day in and day out. And it just happened to be that one day father-in-law came to visit and observed and was like, what is happening? Now, the people are doing this clearly because they've been accustomed to it. Moses is doing this because he's accustomed to it. So this is something that's not happening for the first time. His father-in-law, Jethro, is just happening to notice it. And he's like, what is happening right now? And I'm so glad for our wisdom of our elders, right? Because when Moses explained, as if this is a great thing, right? He said, when they have a matter, they come to me and I judge between a man and his neighbor, and I make them know, again, singular, I make them know the statutes of God and his laws. Moses' father-in-law said to him, the thing that you do is not good. Now, we ain't gonna go too far there. I just want to pause and say the setup for Moses was absolute burnout. Burnt out. And that's what his father-in-law is telling him. He said in verse 18, so this is 18 and 18, you will surely wear away both you and this people with you, for the thing that you do is too heavy for you. You are not able to perform it alone. Now, before we get to verse 19, 18 is the perfect equation for burnout. It's too heavy. You're doing it alone. And it's something that will make you wear away, you and the people. So continuing to do this is going to wear on you and whoever you're serving. So let me give an example. When we talk about burnout, when people say, again, it's when you start out with fire, right? Because to get burnt, you have to have fire. The fire is the passion, the love, the excitement. I'm really starting with passion and love and excitement. And I'm doing it loving, passion, and excitement. But then there comes a time where if you continue in this state, like you hear him saying, right? This is not good. Like from evening to morning. That was also a part of the equation. How long Moses had been doing what he was doing. He didn't do it, maybe a couple of hours once a month, right? But when you do something over and over and you do it for long, extended periods of time, it makes you burn out. And so when we think about burnout, especially as women, we're so used to being a caregiver or caring for somebody, and we do it for so long, and we do it with such intensity. So the fire is hot. It's been burning hot for a long time, for years, for several hours. There's no break. We don't take a break to turn the fire off, to let the wood cool off, or no, we just keep it burning. Keep adding more wood. We keep trying to get it to keep on going in our own lives. And so when you don't take a break, that's a setup for burnout. So you hear this situation, this scenario for Moses, and his father-in-law is saying, this is not good. So we're going to conclude that burnout is not good. I'm going to give you, now that we have a scenario that I want you to think about, because think about it. The people were praising Moses. Yes, you know the word of the Lord. You're going to tell us what God is saying. It seems like it's a very noble thing. And so he's doing, he wakes up every morning to do this. And it took somebody with wisdom who, again, and even though he never done what Moses is doing, observing it was like, this is not good. So sometimes that objective person who can see you from the sidelines or watch from a distance or even watch from the outside has the best view, because they can see what you can't see. They observe it from outside and say, that person, or this situation is not good for you. I see that again. He said it's wearing you down. So I want to there's so many signs. And as you just heard me give one with me yawning, right? When you are habitually tired, and I don't mean like, at the end of the day, tired, you've worked all day, you're tired. I'm talking about tired, and even when you rest or when you sleep, you don't rest. There, your mind is still going, and you wake up and you still feel drained. That is a setup, and that's a sign that you may be getting close to burnout, right? Um, and tired is very different than the next one I'm about to say. It can lead into it, but it's not the same. A persistent overwhelm, feeling of being overwhelmed, like everything is on top of you. You feel the pressure. And the way you know that you feel overwhelmed is because small things, a small task, then irritates you. When you feel like small things is too much, oh Lord, it's three dishes in the sink. Oh God, I don't feel like doing no dishes. It's three dishes in the sink, Theresa. But I don't feel like want to wash. I don't want to wash their dish. That may be a sign that overwhelm is present, and that's leading to burnout. When you, again, that numbness, as I talked about, you kind of rub it on this same spot over and over and over again, to the point that you rubbed it so much that now this part of your hand or skin that you're rubbing, I'm demonstrating rubbing on the back of my hand. If you are rubbing over and over and over again, and after a certain amount of time, this part of your hand, the sensation, um sensory, the nerve senses there start to dull. First of all, to keep you not being, it's a protection so that you're not overstimulated in this area. So it numbs it. But that's a dangerous thing, because then it doesn't tell you the true manner that it's actually numb because it's overstimulated. So when you feel emotionally and mentally numb, and just like, when people get to that place where they are ambivalent or indifferent, I don't care, just whatever. You can make they can't make a decision. They really, and they mean it. Not that they're trying to be rude or mean. They sincerely, like, I have no energy to give advice or to give thought to this. I really do not care. That is absolutely a huge sign of burnout. And again, that says that overwhelm is very present, right? Emotional numbness, where you feel disconnected from what you used to care about. So again, it starts out with this huge fire. I really enjoyed, doing this, or going to the gym and working out. Say that's what it is. I really enjoyed spending time with my friends. But after a while, it's like, I don't really want to go. I'm making an excuse to not go. That's a sign that you're burnt out. That is a signal, a stress signal, when you are avoiding social interactions because you're worried, again, about being overwhelmed, or because you're emotionally numb. People say, I can't people today. That is absolutely a signal of being burnt out. So there's also, when you, again, low motivation or low purpose, that's similar. When you feel like you are irritated, or not irritated, but feel very disconnected to even the work that you do now, your job. So it may be where you're like, I don't really want it. When you're complaining about going in every single day. Excuse me. And what used to be an enjoyable job, now nothing is going well. The staff is silly, or you don't think the staff is intelligent. You think the staff, something wrong with the co-workers. Your co-workers getting on your nerves. The staff ain't doing things right. The managers are not competent. When you have all that, it's like, what's happening? Now we can always have an issue, right? We can say, okay, yeah, that this was an issue in the job and I don't like it, right? And we can bring an issue for our supervisors, or talk to whoever's in charge about the issues. But when we get to a place where even thinking about going to work and nothing about work is exciting, nothing about doing what you're doing brings joy, it's a sign of burnout. Think about when you talk to children. and you ask them about their day, because school absolutely can burn you out. School burnt me out. Again, every day, you go to school every single day for several months out of the year for years, and there is no choice. Like, and there's barely, when you get a break, sometimes you don't even get a break, because summer school is really, or summer can sometimes be summer school. Winter break is only a couple of weeks, and sometimes you think, oh no, I got to go back. Teachers and students feel that way, right? That's a sign that like burnout is really close if it's not present. So when you ask a child, hey, how was school? And it was fine. And there's low excitement in their voice. I mean, they don't have no shine or glitter in their eye when they say it. They don't want to talk about school. Like they don't want you to ask them additional questions. Well, I mean, what happened today? I mean, the same thing. And they're not trying to be disrespectful. Believe me, I learned this as a student. Of course, growing up as a student, we all did it. But even with being a parent, I was like, you know what? They really are just like, no, seriously. I've been a clinician for students in school, and when I say, hey, tell me about your day, and they really go through the day, they really like, no, Miss Theresa, I'm telling you, like, it's the same thing. And I say that because when your brain has got the same action day in and day out, that's when it goes into subconscious mind and it goes on autopilot, what we call autopilot. So when people say, oh, I don't know what happened today, I mean, it just all ran together. That's what that means. When it's like the day just went by, or it was monotone and it was boring and they did the same, they really don't have the memory of like nothing really happened, because nothing sparked a new exciting thought or a new exciting experience. So their brain is really like, no, seriously, nothing. I went to class, teacher taught, went to lunch, and went back to class, and now we're home. Like, I mean, it really is like no excitement. So you have to prompt them and say, what was the funniest thing you had thought, happened today? Or what was the prettiest thing you saw? So I had to get really creative with my students when it came to like that. I don't ask them how their day was anymore. I stopped doing that a while ago. So I just say, hey, tell me what was the best part of your day? Or tell me what's the most frustrating thing that's happened today. They can tell you that. But to be like, oh, how was you? If you do that and they got to break down what happened, yeah, no, you're not going to get an answer unless it's a story that they're in trouble about. So that's a real thing, and it happens with adults too. When they go to work for the same every day, they've been on the same job 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 years, doing the same thing. Maybe they haven't moved up in management, and you say, hey, honey, how was your day? It was fine. You start to hear the answers. And I say that because the way the system is made in Western culture, from school to work, it really is set up for burnout. It really is set up. So you have to watch these signals, you all. I'm going to give a few more. There's so many. Irritability, when you are, and I mean easily irritable. So again, small things. When you feel resentment or you're impatient over anything. I mean, just it's like what? I mean, you think about I love this example because I think people can relate to this. It's a hot day, and it's so hot, and you don't have any air conditioning, you don't have any, cool water around you. There's like, it's just hot, and the heat is like on your neck. You are sweating, you feel icky, and then your child or somebody comes in and starts calling your name. Theresa, hey, Theresa. And you're like, what? Now, they didn't do anything wrong. You're not mad at them. That, again, we talked about being overstimulated. You already are overstimulated by the heat. That's what's happening. So again, when we talk about being burnt out, it's the heat of life that's on me. And so when you call my name or you need something else from me, what should be a general or a pleasant interaction. Oh, hi, yes, I can help you. What's going on? Or, hello. You can be just wanting to say hello to me. But the thought of somebody calling me and wanting something else from me, wanting me to do something, and I'm hot, I'm already overstimulated, the heat is on. What do you want? Right? That, when we talk about irritability, that's a one of those signals that you're leading to or you are at burnout. And so I talked about the motivation and loss of purpose. Not really feel like you have a purpose. It's like you're just doing the mundane, everyday rigmarole and not really fulfilling purpose, which means the fire, the passion that was once there, that burned, that drove you to do what you do. Again, it's getting like that wick. It's fizzling down and going down. That's a sign that burnout is taking place or getting close. And then lastly, I'm going to give one more. When there is rumination, you are constantly replaying things that took place in the past. Oh, I was really big with this. This was something that I did a lot. And in my adulthood, I've had to really work on, still times I've catch myself like not going back to, worrying about mistakes or like things I can't fix. But it can be something that takes your brain power a lot. Or maybe some people are not sleeping because they're thinking about the day. They're running the day through their mind about what they said, what they shouldn't have said, if they did that right, that was the right did I make the right choice? And they're sitting there in their day ruminating and replaying conversations and actions and worrying about mistakes. Yeah, that's a huge sign that burnout is happening. That anxiety is really high and through the roof. That you are not able to shut your mind off or even able to stay present. That's really what that means. You're constantly in the past. You're constantly in yesterday. You are not able to stay focused on today, what's going on right now, or even look to the future, because that's what burnout does. So please pay attention. We do have, of course, there's physical signs. I'll give a couple of those. Tense muscles. As again, you see me with this heat pad on, which represents the heat. And I want you to know, you all, that I forgot it was there. And it's on the third highest heat. It only has 4 settings, and it's on the third highest. That's what I said I was going to talk about why I got this heat pad on. That's to demonstrate. That's what burnout does. After being on so long, the heat is still, if somebody was to put it on them right now, they would feel fresh heat. But because it's been on me so long, my body temperature has matched the heat in the heat pad. And so now it doesn't feel like it's warm anymore. That's what's happening in people's lives when we talk about burnout. You are turning your system, your emotions, your mind is turning up or matching the heat of life where you are getting singed. And it's starting to be that when things happen, it doesn't move you anymore. Now you're numb. Now you don't really, it's kind of like you have the nonchalant, ambiguous indifference. I don't care. And what that really means is that you're overstimulated and your nervous system needs to go back to regulating and being calm. But in a world that's difficult with the current systems that we have, or if you have a job that you really don't enjoy, but you are in a system where you have to work, or you don't eat, right? But you have to do something that's going to be able to put food on the table because maybe what you really love or a hobby that you do doesn't bring that kind of money home. So these are things that really you have to think about. So I want to conclude with what took place with Moses, because I think this is really good ways for you, first of all, to acknowledge. So Moses had to actually stop and answer the question. Once Jethro said, "What are you doing?" So when somebody says, "How are you doing?" stop and answer the question. Stop and consider what they're really asking you. Stop is your head hurting? Are you okay? Are you tired? Or again, as I was Johnny, stop and yeah, I am a little, or maybe a lot. Right. And so when he gives his answer, and then the father-in-law says, "This thing that you're doing is not good." There are going to be people that God is going to bring in your life that's going to have the wisdom to see what you can't see. And they're going to be able to see down the road where this action is leading you. This is not a good relationship. This is not a good thing to do, as he's saying to Moses, his son-in-law. This is not a good skill. This is not a good place. This is not a good whatever. And sometimes it does come from your elders, right? So this came clearly from an elder. that said it's not good. And he told him why, because you will surely wear away. This, excuse me, is going to wear you down. You don't have the capacity. Both, he said, both you and the people will get tired of each other. They're going to get tired of coming to you, and you're going to get tired of them coming to you. So when you're that mediator, you're the one that everybody calls. And before it seems sweet, you love it. You love that the family members are always calling you, or friends always want your advice. But then after a while, you like, I don't want the phone to ring one time. Why? Because it's a sign that you're wearing away. And both you and them, they don't want to call you no more, and you don't want them to call you no more. Yeah, sign of burnout. And so then he says, for it's too heavy for you, right? So when you recognize that it's heavy, so when they start calling out, hey, I notice that you're short, you're irritable, they start calling out the signs I just got through talking about. When they're calling out those signs, and then they say, the next thing he said in verse 19 is, listen now to my voice. Which means, you know what listen now mean? Be present. What was the signal that I told you about? Ruminating, going to the past, not being present. So when he says listen now, that means the action that's going to help you come out of burnout is you have to come to the present. I have to listen now to the voice. I have to listen now to my body. I have to listen now to what's going on, the issue now, whatever that may be. So this elder is saying, listen now to my voice, and I'm going to give you counsel. So he said, I'm going to tell you basically what tools to take. Right? And then he says, and God be with you, which is huge when it comes to burnout. You can't not come out of burnout without the Most High. You can't. It just is, with the way the system is set up, you're never going to come out of burnout without him. It says, you represent the people before God and bring the causes to God. It says, he said, you shall teach them the statutes and the laws. Right? So he broke it down and told him, yes, you're going to teach them. Like, we're not taking away your skill. Your gift is your gift, but we need to shift it so that we don't burn you out where your gift is no longer bringing fruit. Moses absolutely was a man that could teach them about God's ways and God's laws and show them how they should live and work and etc. But he said, but what needs to happen is you need to delegate. You can't be the only person the only one that has this skill. That's a danger, you all. We get into these places of work or whatever we're doing, our jobs, especially as entrepreneurs, speaking for myself. And when you are a lone wolf, when you are on an island by yourself, it can create burnout, because we are built for community. We are built to love within relationships and get support, and also live in harmony with other human beings. And when we are on an island by ourselves and doing things on our own, it creates an atmosphere for burnout. So his father-in-law is saying, you need to gather all these people, the leaders, you need to find leaders, right? And he said, and you need to place leaders, which is managers, rulers, over them in companies. His advice was rulers over thousands. You need some rulers over hundreds, rulers over 50s, and rulers over 10s, which basically said, get a group of 10 people and set a manager over them. For every 10 people, there's a manager for that person. Every 50, there's 5 managers, and you need to have a manager for that person, or a manager for those 5, so that again, they can handle small matters and the bigger things can come to you. There comes a time that when you've been working for so long and, etc., that's where people talk about mentor programs, mentorships. Because when you have that, when you say, you know what, you have been doing this skill for so long, it's now time for you to teach somebody else. It's now time for you to mentor, teach them so it can spread on. Because we already know that Moses wasn't going to be here forever. He's no longer with us on the earth, right? So it was going to come a time, and his father-in-law was basically saying, you're going to die sooner than you're supposed to if you let these people do this. And what do people do? They get sick. Sickness is a sign of burnout, that something in your system is saying, I can't do this anymore. So I got to give you a signal, whether I give you headache, whether you get headaches, whether you're dehydrated, whether you are, again, the tiredness is also, again, not just a mental signal, but a physical signal, right? You can be muscle tension, all those things. People who daydream a lot, and maybe you're not ruminating in the past. Well, that's still kind of ruminating in the past, but sometimes you can ruminate or daydream in the future. But when you're not able to stay present, that's a huge sign that there's burnout present or becoming close. So the question that I asked with today's or this week's episode is, are you burnt out? Did the signs that we talked about in this episode resonate with you? Are there others that you have experienced that I didn't mention? If so, I would love to see you comment below this video or to shoot us a message. We would love to hear other burnt out signs or signals that you may have noticed. You are always welcome to send information to our email at support@intimeccs.com. That's INTIMECCS.com. But I definitely hope the same way that Moses did, that you listen to the wisdom of the elders. And the elders doesn't always mean somebody who's older than you. Elder can be somebody who has more experience than you. So somebody's coming to you saying, hey, I did it that way, and baby, please don't. Or I see, that this is not going to lead well. Listen, people are trying to save your life. Everybody's not hating on you. There are some people who love you enough to tell you the truth, even when it's going to hurt your feelings or make you upset, because they want you to live, because they care about you. And Jethro, his father-in-law, absolutely loved his son-in-law and did not want him going anywhere anytime soon. You got my daughter and my grandkids. Like, I want you to be here. This ain't no bad father-in-law, son-in-law relationship, clearly. Right? He's happy to see him. They're rejoicing and celebrating. He watching him at work until he was like, this is not good. If he didn't like him, he would have kept his mouth closed and been like, yeah, gonna die. Keep on doing what you're doing. You'll wear soon. You'll wear away soon enough. Be wary of people who can watch you suffer and do nothing, who watch you struggle and don't offer to help or don't offer to give it any type of tools. Now, that doesn't mean that I ain't talking about people who have offered you help and you denied it. So they stopped, because again, they got burnt out with trying to give you help. But those who have never offered help, who just watch you and don't think, well, that's what you always the one everybody go to. I'm gonna let them keep coming to you. No, there's to be somebody in your life that says, you know what, everybody coming to you ain't always a good thing. Because then who you gonna go to? Or what happens when you're not available? How they gonna figure out solutions then? They're trying to help you not wear away, just like Jethro was doing to Moses. Burnout is one of the fastest, I think it's one of the fastest killers this side of the century. And it's a silent killer. It's one of those ones that's killing people, and it's opening the door for a lot of sickness, a lot of disease, strokes, and high blood pressure, because people are burnt out and they're grieved above measure. And they don't know how to live past what they've lost, the time they've lost, the strength they've lost, the zeal they've lost, the passion they've lost. But one of my specialties is grief. And I use expressive arts and drama therapy to help people heal from grief. I do have a journal. So shameless plug. My journal is called Get a Grip. Grief recovery is possible by grace. That's what GRIP stands for. Grief recovery is possible. You do not have to stay stuck in grief. You can get a grip and come out. You can get it on Amazon under that name, Theresa White, of course, as the author. Or you can go to our website at www.intimeccs.com/shop. Thank you for joining this episode. And I hope that you are paying attention to your signals, because the last thing you or your family or your loved ones need is for you to be burnt out. We want you to live and thrive and be here for a long time and be healthy and enjoy life. So please take heed to these signals if you are noticing any. And please share if there's other ones that I didn't mention that you've noticed in yourself. Have a blessed and beautiful week. We'll see you all next week as we talk about more stress signals. Bye bye.